It's all for you. Yeah, yo. There whenever it matters, and even more when you feel like it doesn't. Protect you so you never feel like you wasn't. Know I'm right alongside you. Either that or I'm behind you, but always got you. End of discussion, nothing means more. First one to offer is shoulders for what you reach for. Thought I saw the eyes of the world until I seen yours. And know that I ain't see a better view yet. I'm with whatever, so don't ever you fret. Know that you covered, not a hurdle or a heartbreak. A change what a partake, cause none of them won't ever get comfortable in your walkway. My job is to aware you, fully loaded, prepare you for all of the above that I'm never letting get near you. But still in all, give you every advantage I found. Couldn't find a better fit for them, along with my crown. And since the baton was passed, I've been down. Cause failing's not an option, and dad is not a noun, not at all.
Welcome to another episode of Dad is Not a Noun. My name is Ishmael. Happy Sunday. I hope everyone's doing well. What you just saw was an amazing video by my amazing guest on with me today, Greg C. Washington. How you doing, sir? How you doing?
Hey Ishmael, doing well yourself. I appreciate you having me on.
No, thank you for coming on to the show. I really appreciate it, man. Walk to Honor, which is a powerful name of what you're doing, because this month is Suicide Awareness Prevention Month, and I think one of those stories that haven't been told is the struggle that our veterans are dealing with. Sometimes the scars are that the veterans are dealing with are hidden, and we don't see it. And so what you did was you went across, you went through 11 states, 1,800-mile walk to bring awareness to the story. So again, thank you for coming on. How are you doing today?
Man, I'm doing good. My feet are tired.
Before we go into the conversation, who is Greg C. Washington?
So, I'm just like you and everyone else. I'm just someone that cares. I graduated from the United States Military Academy. I was a freshman when 9/11 happened, and me and my classmates, we chose to stay when we could have left. So we knew we were going to fight, and the reason why we were fighting was for what our country, what our Constitution, what it stands for. And so, I asked myself, who better to lead our sons and daughters than me, than someone that cares? And so I graduated from the Service Academy in 2005. I was a team captain for the football team while I was there, and I branched infantry. And so I was deployed to Afghanistan and Iraq, where I ended up getting hurt and had to figure out life after the military when I got out. And so my transition was tough, and I lost my purpose. You think about most service members, we raise our hand to protect and defend this country. Oftentimes we sacrifice our youth, our health, and even love for what we do. And you're prepared for war, but that transition back home or back into your normal life, that is something that, it takes a village to help get reintegrated. And so I got out, I climbed the corporate ladder, I started up my own business, I went back to school and got my MBA from Tulane, and I was trying to figure out life. Along the way, I lost two of my best friends, Emily Perez and Scotty Pace, to war, and I also sustained injuries myself. And my transition was so bad that I almost took my life.
Wow.
You think about the survivor's remorse, because I had promised my two friends that I would have their back. I was their battle buddy, and I couldn't do anything to help them. I was too far away. So you have the survivor's remorse. I was waking up in pain every day because of the injuries that I sustained, and I questioned my quality of life. And in the middle of me getting ready to make a terrible decision, I got a phone call from my little cousin. And I call her my angel, because that phone call, it saved my life.
Wow.
And so this past September, I ended up witnessing a teammate of mine that graduated before me. He took his life on Facebook Live.
Wow.
And it brought me back to a time where, to that point, when I had dealt with, with trauma and grief, and I wanted to do something. I thought if I was a leader and my transition was that tough, I can only imagine what it's like for others that don't have the resources nor the tribe to get help. So I started the Walk to Honor ahead of schedule and time, because if 22 vets died day by suicide, I couldn't wait another 365 days of planning when, there were lives to be affected. So we started in Mount Bayou, Mississippi, walked 11 states from Mississippi to North Carolina to West Point, New York. And every major city that we stopped in, we would host these mental health rallies where we would invite active duty service members, veterans, in different communities to come and talk and have these conversations about mental health, suicide prevention, and how to have, these talks with, especially like with the youth. And so it was very powerful and enlightening, because the people that I got to meet along the way, it was life-changing. I was able to walk through all of the different cities and see firsthand the struggles that we go through. And I took those stories to Congress and shared them so that they were made aware of just the state of, where we were at, and the help that's needed.
Wow. And then talk about the impact that the pandemic played, because that's the one thing is while you're going on this journey and you're meeting new people, but before that we were locked down, we couldn't do anything. So just talk about that impact of the pandemic, of basically what did you learn about yourself as a father, um, just as a Black man. What did the pandemic taught you about yourself that you didn't know about yourself?
Yeah. No, that's a great question. One of the things that I failed to mention, was with the walk, I had my son come out and walk with me. He's 14-year-old, and he just went into ninth grade. And so over the summer, he was like, "Dad, you're walking?" He was like, "Man, I'm coming to walk with you." And so he was excited to come out, and he got it in. His first day was tough. He didn't know what he was expecting. I joked with him because it sounded like a great idea until you got to walk, 6 to 8 hours a day, and we're doing, 15 to 20 miles a day. And he was like, "Dad, if you're walking for the veterans, I'm gonna walk for the youth." And suicide is the second leading cause of death for our youth in the United States between the age of 9 and 19. And so to see him get out at such an early age and, want to walk with Dad, and we got to spend that time, and to take his summer to raise awareness for, for our youth, that was a proud dad moment for me. And it was just amazing. We got to walk the great state of Alabama, parts of Georgia and South Carolina, in North Carolina. It's funny because he, towards the end of it, he was like, "All right, Dad, like, when am I going home?" I said, "Well, we'll make it to North Carolina by the 4th of July." He was like, we walked a little more. He was like, "So wait, I'm basically walking home?" I was like, "Yeah." We got to walk through Alabama, and we walked the Selma to Montgomery Civil Rights Trail,
Wow.
foot for foot. And I don't think he knows what he did as a 14-year-old.
Wow.
Later in life, he's going to look back and be like amazed, because I don't know any other 14-year-old that has done that in this modern day, free will.
Yeah.
So to share that experience with him, I had my dad. My dad was with me from day one. It was amazing, to have that father-son time. You had 3 generations that were supporting this big cause and walking through the South. A lot of people ask me, why did I pick Mount Bayou, Mississippi as my starting point? Well, that's my dad's side of the family. That's where he's from. But that was my safe place, my safe space. And so when I was figuring out who I am and regaining myself, I would go to Mount Bayou and unplug and unwind. Um, that's like the Black Mayberry, if you ever watched the Andy Griffith show.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a beautiful place. The people, because everybody knows everyone. It doesn't have a stoplight. You can leave your door unlocked because you know everyone. Um, but the history, what I found out when I started to learn more about Mount Bayou, was that it was one of the first officially recognized towns, black towns, in the U.S. A newly freed slave was allowed to purchase an 800-acre swamp. And his mantra to the other newly freed slaves were, if you could work from sun up to sundown for your master, you can work from sun up to sundown for yourself.
That's right.
And so I wanted people to know about our history, that there's more than just pain and suffering, that there's grit, there's strength, and there's resilience that they shown to create their own safe space right back then. And so I strongly believe that that is the same grit, resilience, and strength that we need to save ourselves. And so we started at Mount Bayou. It kind of all comes full circle because when I made it to DC, I got to visit the African American Museum, and Mount Bayou and Emily are both featured in the museum. Mount Bayou for being the first official black town. And my best friend, Emily Perez, she was the highest ranking black female to graduate from West Point at that time. And she was also the first black female officer to be killed in war, in OIF. And so she was featured in the African American Museum as well. And so it was just, for us to do this walk this year, it all really just came full circle because I was a freshman when 9/11 happened. 20 years later, the war is ending. And so I got a chance to go back and talk with the freshman class of 9/11 ending. And to my surprise, they had named their basic training after Emily Perez. They named it Task Force Perez. So they knew her name. They knew, her credibility. But when I came and walked up there, they knew and understood the loyalty of the Long Gray Line and what it means to selflessly serve and to have each other's back. And so even though I couldn't keep my promise to my two best friends that I would be there to protect them, I can keep this promise of making sure that their legacy lives on.
And then, how were you able to get over? Because that's the one thing is the trauma aspect of it. The idea of telling your friends that I got your back, and because you weren't able to be there, so you weren't able to get they're back. So how were you able to overcome that? Because I think that's important to let the audience know is that there's certain things in life you can't control, and
Yeah.
sometimes letting go of things you can't control is a way for you to just move on and heal. But talk about your how you were able to heal, even though it's still an ongoing struggle of dealing with mental health, depression. But to that journey, how were you able to just reconcile with yourself personally that it was nothing you could do?
No, I'm with you, and you're absolutely right. And that's the reason why I called, this walk a walk to honor, and I've invite people to start their own journeys to heal, because it is a journey. It's an ongoing journey. Your healing, your happiness. Um, it's all about the journey. There's no end destination to say, oh, I'm healed, or oh, I'm happy. It's the process along the way. And so to understand that we are our own worst critics sometimes, right? You individually put a lot of pressure on yourself, a lot of shame and guilt, if you don't perform or underperform, just based on what you do. And so to recognize that we're human, I can only do so much, right? And that some things are out of my control, and to give yourself a little grace and mercy along the way, um, that's what helps. And so to understand that it's a new day, to still be here, because there were times when I was numb, and I remember being so numb that I didn't feel. Nothing made me happy, nothing made me sad. I was just bland. And I remember looking in the mirror, and I couldn't even see my face. All I could see were my ghosts. And they were asking me, you know, why? Why didn't you do more? Why weren't you there? And all I could say was, I'm sorry. And it would be me standing in the mirror for hours. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I wish it was me. I wish I could have done more. And it took a point, especially after that phone call, of me looking back and saying, okay, look, these are my closest friends. What are they really telling me? Because they wouldn't haunt me. So what is it really saying? And so when I answered that question, it wasn't a matter of, why didn't you save us? But what are you going to do now? You have to be able to live and live well in their honor. And so that's the biggest key and the biggest part of it. They were my why, and why I walked all of those miles. And so being able to process what you're going through, understanding that you're human, that you're not going to get everything right, and giving yourself mercy and grace, along the way, helps. And just being able to tap into your support, because what you're going through, you're not the first, and you're not going to be the last. And so understanding that everyone has a story, and that when it comes to dealing with grief, whether it's the loss of yourself, of what you used to be, or the loss of someone close to you, it is something that should be a shared, like a shared community. It's nothing that you should have to like shoulder alone.
And that's powerful and that's deep. And one of the quotes that you said, I'm paraphrasing, but the quotes that you gave to ESPN, which I think was powerful, is that people die twice. You know, they die eventually. When they pass away, and then when they speak their name, when you speak their name,
Yes.
like talk about that. What does that mean?
So being able to take the grief that you're dealing with and make it manageable for you on a daily basis. So a person dies twice, once in the physical form, and the last time their name is spoken. And so I have classmates, I have friends, and even myself, it used to be very hard for me to even say their names because of how much the grief, how much it weighed on me. And to be able to share, to know that they're gone, in the physical form, but to be able to say their name and share their story and who they were with others, that's a way to help make sure their legacy lives on. And so along the way, as I meet people, um, I invite them to honor one person, one or two people, um, that they would like to make sure their legacy lived on one more day. And it's a beautiful thing because a lot of folks don't look at it like that. And so when you are able to speak that person's name and know that their legacy lived on one more day, and to be able to incorporate that grief into your life in a positive way, it's empowering.
No, and it definitely is. And I know, like, the word breathe, the Latin word is to inspire. And when you breathe into existence. And by saying that person's name, you're letting the world know that they exist, and they played a critical role in your lives. And I think that's important too. But also talk about, through your journey with the walk. Tell me, like, one of the stories that kind of stick out to you through your journey through that walk, of maybe a person you met or a town you were in, that kind of touched you in a way that you never forget. Even though everyone you meet, you may forget their names, but it's that one moment in a time where you're like, this is going to stick out for like until to the day I pass on.
Yeah. Um, I have a couple, but the most impactful one, another vet I had came home to Fayetteville, North Carolina. I was passing through, and it was a vet. I saw all the signs. I asked him, man, come get on the bus. Like, just take 2 weeks, 30 days, just for yourself. I was like, you don't have to worry about anything. Food to be taken care of. Like you're good. I got you. And he said, gee, he said, man, let me take care of this, this court stuff. Let me figure out what was going on, with my old lady. And he was like, I'll catch up with you. I saw all the signs. The top three risk factors or increased risk factors of suicide is isolation, toxic relationship, and financial stress. Most people can handle 2 out of the 3, but when you're dealing with all 3, that weight get a little more heavy. And so he told me he would catch up with me. And it hadn't even been 20 days. I got a phone call one morning, right as I was getting ready to start walking. Cousin called me, said, man, he said, gee, they found Eric. He overdosed the night before.
Wow.
And so he passed. And so that weighed heavy on me because it's if you knew an 1,800-mile walk would save your life, would you walk it? And so that day, it was heavy. That was the toughest day. I mean, I was physically in shape, having already walked all those miles up and down. But that day, every step that I took was so heavy. And I had to walk some extra miles just to get that off. And I had to remind myself that I'm only human. I can't make him walk his journey. he has to walk it himself. And that's for anyone. But what I will say is when you're going through something, you have to be able to set boundaries for yourself, healthy boundaries. And I'll give examples. If I get upset or I'm feeling some kind of way, call a friend, say, hey, look here, hold my guns so I don't do something stupid. If I drink, right, if I had a bad day, before I drink, I ask myself, why am I drinking? If I'm drinking to numb the pain or to forget, then guess what? I don't drink. Your drug of choice is not going to find you or give you comfort. You're not hurting someone by abusing yourself. Oh, I'm going to show you and just take your life. That day was so hard because, I mean, he was such a good person. He had been battling his habits. He'd been trying. And it was just one of those tough things that even now, you know, it bothers me. But it's something that I'll process and I'll never let go because it's part of my journey. And so to be able to share that with other folks, you know, it's being able to go from a victim to a survivor to your own hero. And so just like they say with math, they say you don't know math until you can teach it to someone else, that lesson. And so being able to take your story, to take your pain and understand it and know it and be able to heal from it to the point where you can help someone else along their way. Um, that's what it's been. And so I took those lessons that I learned, especially with him, and I started talking to other people about having boundaries when we're going through. And so that was the biggest impact. My toughest day was also um, when I had started. I had a stake that had went through my shoe and started to pierce my heel, and it was hot. And I mean, it was like this 12 to 17% grade incline that we were having to go up. And I hadn't talked to anybody for days. You know, I was just this guy on the side of the road, didn't know I was walking. My family sacrificed their time and effort to, you know, to help with this. And I asked the universe, you know, why? Why am I doing this? And I got to the top of the hill. And as I got to the top, this young lady, she saw, you know, the banner from the truck, and she stopped, and you see my dad point over and like, he's over that way. And she turns around, jumps out the car, and she's like, I lost two already, and my husband has severe PTSD. I might lose him as well. Keep walking.
Wow.
Thank you for what you're doing. And she gave me this big hug and she cried. She was only like this, you know, she was this tall and she wet up my shirt. But at that point, I knew that I had to keep walking, that I couldn't stop it. It was bigger than me. One of the things that I did learn, it's something about gaining support, right? From people that, you know, understand the cause and are supportive of it. It's another thing to be undeniable. When your purpose, when your cause, when you're so passionate about something and how you move, it becomes undeniable. Even to your quote unquote haters, you have to be acknowledged. And so that's one of the things that I learned about myself along the way. Because when you walk, when you make so much noise that you have to be heard, that's when you know that's when you have power. That's when the power comes in. Um, and so I'm thankful, one, and all I kept saying is if I could just save one life, every step from here to there would be worth it. Just one life.
And
And
and I think what you're doing is amazing, and I think the cause is phenomenal. And anything you need on my side, I'm there for you. You know, real talk. This is the first time we're actually face to face, and I just want to let you know I love you, brother.
I appreciate it.
I'm not afraid to say I love you, brother. I love what you're doing. I'm here for you. I want to say thank you for Boyd for bringing us together, because this story needs to be amplified. I think it needs to be out there. I think people need to share their stories. I think the the vital thing is to tell, our brothers and sisters it's okay to say I'm not okay,
Correct.
and share your story. And I thank you for sharing your story. How can people find you? How can people help?
Yes. So every day I post my journey and all the people that I meet along the way. So I'm on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. If you look up Greg C. Washington, you'll find me. And my website is gregcwashington.com. Click on a Walk to Honor, and you'll be able to see everything that we've done from day one to now. And so you can support from there financially, or sign up to get newsletters and notifications of upcoming events that we're going to be doing in the near future. So the walk, that journey, that was the kickoff to what's coming. And so we're going to keep pushing because I just need to save one more life.
That's right. And that's what's important about what I do here, is I try to create this platform to talk about changing the narrative for men of color and fatherhood, but just changing the narrative, things that we care about in a society. And I think the most important, and one of the important things, is to make sure the well-being, the mental and the health of our veterans are taken care of.
Mhm.
Brother, thank you for jumping on. I appreciate you. Anything that's going on, you're always welcome to come back on anytime, man.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, brother. And we're out. Peace.